Here.
Got it all taken care of? With your
Warrant,
technical
so,
assistance?
yes, so warrants are good. You had asked about money for a truck last time that I saw in the minutes.
Yeah.
I did talk to Mo. You have about 60,000 in your equipment fund that you could use as a down payment.
Yeah.
So
Mo
you-
won't be here. Mo won't be here today because he had a death in the family.
Who?
So Maurice.
Who is this at?
His aunt.
As I said, I was hoping it wasn't
He's in
your
New
own
Hampshire
mom.
right now.
It's not his mom, I was wondering.
No, it's his aunt. He'll be back tomorrow.
He just said that when I was talking to Dave,
He's
he's
down
down there
to-
to see her somewhere down south part of the state. Well, sure, just take us.
Yeah, no, sort of like Chuck, huh? Stop in, eat, leave.
She came in,
At least I'm
put those
stopping
out
you.
for
Well,
you
that's
guys, and then left. So
Huh?
she came
So,
in for like
When we do
5
our
minutes.
payout this
purposely
year,
to
we
put
should
those
all
out for
share
you
Chuck's
guys.
money because we
Hey.
took care of his thing for
Hey.
him the whole year.
Hey,
You know, we should send him a note saying that you want to know how you want that distributed. That would be the perfect way to do that, Chuck.
I think you're right. We should.
Yeah, just send Chuck a letter just saying, well, since you weren't doing much, we wanted to know how to distribute your
100%.
I'd get him whelmed.
Do you have any questions for me before I? So you only have one warrant tonight, it's an AP warrant. The reason for that is today's a holiday, so payroll gets processed tomorrow. So next meeting, you'll have 2 payroll warrants. and a warrant. Just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
And you have 60,000 in your equipment fund for a replacement of a highway department truck that you could use as a down payment.
And there could be some other when we get down towards the end of the year, right?
You could have a surplus, yep.
Yeah.
So,
I'll bring you, Kathy and I will print reports for you guys next time. Now that we've finished quarter end, we can now print reports, so we'll know where we stand. And we'll have a good idea where we're
Right.
coming at towards the end of the year.
Good.
But absolutely.
thank you,
So
congratulations.
before
Thank you.
Jonathan leaves, I just want to say that he's amazing and I'm learning a lot from him. So I appreciate that he's
Well,
still
that's why he
on
gets the
for
big
us.
bucks. Just keep
I
that.
really appreciate that he's still on, and I'm gonna pick his brain the whole time.
So yeah, so I'll be here tomorrow. We're gonna do payroll and print checks and.
Okay, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me know if there's any
Enjoy.
questions. Appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you.
Good to see you.
Mr. Peter, you're up.
Hello?
You're up. You can
Okay.
come up here if you'd like.
I'm good.
I did get, I'm not sure if you saw that we have all of the minutes and the agenda. If you don't have all of
About a year ago, I don't know if anybody remembers, but the library proposed to the select board to use last year's surplus to establish a capital reserve fund. And last year, we had a surplus of about $11,000. And the idea was to take that money, establish the fund. And I believe it was Jonathan who came to the select board with the information. And I never came, or Laura never came here directly. And from what we understood, the select board preferred that the $11,000 be rolled over into the next year's budget instead. Does this all ring a bell?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what we
That's
did.
to me, let me phrase it that way. That's to me.
It does to you. So we rolled it over into last year's budget. This year, we were on track not to have a surplus. We were going to be even this year, except now that Sarah has given her notice, depending on who we hire as a new librarian, whether the salary for the new person, how it's different than Sarah's salary, there might be a surplus at the end of this year. Nowhere near $11,000, but mostly the difference in salary and benefits from last year, from Sarah to this new person who we haven't found yet. So the trustees of the library are still interested in at least establishing a capital reserve fund this year. And it's my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that you need to have a warrant article to establish the fund and a warrant article to contribute to the fund. And it could be both at the same time, or it could be two separate articles.
Right. You know the argument you're going to hear from us, which you would have heard last, or from me anyway. We got 1.7 million in there. Why are we establishing another fund? And your interest that bears, and your payments are getting down within 3 more years, 4 more years for final payment?
No, at least 7 years. For the mortgage?
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least 7.
Do you know what your balance is on that fund now?
I don't. I just know that we have about 7 more years, and our yearly payment is $32,000 a year.
Right.
And right now, that 1.7 is working to earn us approximately high 40s in dividends income,
Yeah.
reliable income, not with the market. And so it takes about 1.5 to 1.7 in the fund to make those kind of dividends. And at least for the next 7 years, the trustees don't have any plans to mess with the formula. We were relying on that fund to pay the mortgage off. After that time, I would imagine it would be a different conversation. But at least until that mortgage is paid off. Right now, we've got a conservative. It's been trusted over the past 10 years. So far it's worked well. And I think the intention right now is we're not going to mess with that until the mortgage is paid. So when you ask about the 1.7, that's pretty much the answer. We're not using that money for anything else except to make sure the mortgage gets paid off. And you guys all know, how the stock market works. One day you think you're doing great, next day something happens, and
Right, but I'm assuming yours is in moderate to more conservative funds.
We're what they call fiduciary mix of stocks and bonds. We just 2 years ago we adjusted it slightly to be a little bit more on the bond side. It was a little bit. Our advisors recommended that it was a little bit too aggressive, so we dialed a little more bonds in. We do a responsible mix of investments. We've had this conversation many times, but
Do you have any rough, and I know it's rough, what kind of increase you're going to be looking at for this year?
this year,
Yeah, the year coming.
pretty much the difference in the surplus, because the surplus isn't there this year as a revenue.
Yeah.
So $11,000 that we rolled over last year,
Yeah.
and let's just say we're not going to have any surplus this year. Maybe a little bit, like I explained, but no plus 200 plus $11,264. So 11,000 that we have to surplus plus $264 more. So of all our other buckets of money, other than the surplus, all of our other expenses is an increase of $264.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So the trustees think it would be a good idea. I mean, we've had this conversation about the capital reserve fund before.
Mhm.
I think the select board suggested it was a good idea at one point.
I don't think it's the worst idea, but I just see the lump we've got, and of course we hear it from different ones that, why aren't we ever using any of this? And we can't, I don't know if you do, but I still hear it all the time. It's like, what the hell do we have that fund for? If we'd known it was going to do this, we'd never done that. We never voted to do this. So we always got that coming back at us. I mean, I'm not fighting anything. I use the library a lot, so I'm not someone that's just nothing I ever use. I use it quite often. My wife does too. Our kids always did.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Ron?
What would the capital funds be used for, I guess?
Well, it would be if there was a problem with the building, basically.
And if we didn't have the capital funds, well, if something was to go wrong with the building, what would we do? Just take it out of the general fund?
Well, I You make it not.
Yeah, see,
I mean, if you're looking at it and say, well, worst scenario, you can always go to that $1.7 million in there.
I suppose if it was,
I mean, if you had to, that's what it was there for. Originally, that's what it was given to do, was to maintain the building in the library and to build it. So, I mean, theoretically, if a super scenario came, you could, if you had to, attach that thing. So like I said before, after we build it, I said, I'd rather have them come say, we gotta have money to put the new tiling in, because the floor's worn. You know, rather than just have a nice looking building no one uses, so. I don't know, how do you feel?
Yes, I know, well, it's the same thing, you know, like you say, people talk, that's what they always said, that was, I mean, I was on the original board, and that's what it was, that was the selling point of it, was,
Self-sustaining, pretty much, is the way it was sold.
yeah, well, I was gonna use all the funds, huh?
That's already changed.
Right. So that's where you always, as a board, or so far the board's been on it, it's always been a little subject, you're kind of like, I don't want to go pounding, asking them for more money. Because we went from almost 0 to 10% of our town budget. You know, $1 million or something, and it's 100 and some thousand. So it went from 0 to 10% of the town budget. And if that's what people want, that's what people want, you know? So you still got a percentage fighting it, still a bunch saying, this is what I want. I guess whatever the biggest percentage of people say.
last year, the Australian ballot, the library budget passed with 79% approval
Yeah.
on the Australian ballot, which is pretty solid. So, would anybody be opposed to at least establishing a fund with some initial amount of money? Maybe it's a modest amount.
I'd say that'd be a good, in my mind, I think that would be a good way of starting it at town meeting, is bringing it up for a vote of establishing this fund. And then people there can pro or con it right at town meeting.
Would we do it with a warrant article?
I would think that would be the best way to go about it. And then it's the people, wouldn't you? People have voted on it?
Do it, instead of a ballot, do it on where they can
Right,
speak
discuss it on the
floor.
floor and,
Vote on it one way.
and then
or
the
other.
board can give their rationale why and all this. I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out here. That's,
Would it be in the,
it'd be in your warning in the back of the town report.
it'd be in the warning
Yeah,
in the back, it would be
Yeah.
numbered,
yeah.
yeah.
You could do it when you do your library budget and have it for another one beneath it or something. Get it in the right sequence.
Have it all together and save spreading it out.
Yeah, so just, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not promoting or whatever, but it's, you know, it's the way I've looked at these things, people choose to vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really fair for us 3, 4, 5 to vote on something that maybe the whole town people want or don't want.
Yeah, something like that. I'd feel more comfortable doing it that way. That is a warned item.
So warrant item,
Yep.
and do you know if we would have to establish it with some amount of money, or do you just establish it and then in a different article you contribute to it?
That, I don't know the whole mechanics of that part. You could, I suppose you could set them out, if it did pass, to say this year we'd want to put $3,000 into it on a separate item. I think you could do that, but I'm not 100% certain of that.
Well, sometimes they have an article, if Article 4 passes,
Right.
would you approve Article 5 that says, $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever, going to that capital fund?
Then I would think each year you would have to have a set amount you were going to put into that fund.
In our budget?
And it'd have to be voted on. This capital, it wouldn't be just the trustees saying, we're going to put 10,000 in this year.
Right, but if it was an expense in our budget, it would be voted on, right?
Yeah, that's a part I'm kind of wondering about, how people are going to go along with that. If it's something at town meeting where they actually get to vote on that number, of 5,000 or 3,000 or something.
Yeah, listen, I'm picking.
I guess what I'm trying to do is figure some way for it to get started and then go from there, I'll be honest with you. Because I know there's still a lot of people that got to burn about the way the thing morphed into what it is. So I'm just trying to think some realistic way in my mind. I'm not saying what I'm suggesting is the perfect way by any means.
So start.
It's a way to get a thing started.
Okay, well, last year when we went down this path, I think Jonathan, he had crafted the wording for that scenario, I think. I think he had two that he wrote up. One to start it, and one to fund it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because it was the surplus, I think.
Right.
So we'd be open, I think the trustees would be open to at least establishing it this year.
I was thinking that if it got established and then, because then there'll be discussion, people really know, the people that go to town meeting, how they truly feel about it, the ones that get up and say something, or if ones don't say anything, well then, don't come on later about it. You had an opportunity to state your case for or against.
Yeah.
But-
Okay, so I think we would take that path then we would at least try to start it this year.
Yeah, get something in place, or at least get authorized to establish the fund,
Okay.
and then, work it from there.
All right.
And
I don't know, I'm just throwing, I don't know how you guys
I
feel
mean,
about that.
maybe at town meeting, they might say, well, can they vote at that on an amount if they wanted to, even if it wasn't on a.
Oh, I think they can, yeah.
Yeah.
If
How's
they-
that work? How's
Could be
that?
done even just as an amendment,
Right, amendment to it, that they want to establish it with a dollar amount in there.
even if you just do on the warning that you want to create a fund, and then amendment on the floor could be and add X amount of dollars to it.
Someone I would have to propose the amendment, and then there'd be a debate and then a vote on that.
Yeah.
amendment. Okay, that could be.
Yeah, because I suspect, well, maybe next year, I don't know if that appraisal won't be done next year, will it? I mean, that's going to be a shock to some people, the appraisal of their properties, when that gets all done.
Mm.
I mean, as I said to somebody, well, you can have a low appraisal and a high tax rate, you can have a higher appraisal and a lower tax rate, all depends how much gets spent. No matter how if you spend $2 million, you gotta come up with it.
My house on Zillow is about double what my appraisal is right now.
Yeah,
It's
and
come down about 30 grand since the peak of COVID, but
right, and you gotta wonder, in another year or so, how things will,
Yeah, that's what,
it's
Sure.
a rough time
that's
for
the ones that I
appraisal.
talked about, where these guys are gonna appraise it at these ridiculous,
highest
at these
amount.
ridiculous prices now, or at
Yeah.
what they should be appraised at, So,
yeah, that's gonna be the
I mean, there's a big swing, I mean, there's a, 100,000 or
200,000
more, everybody's paying more, and that's why we're doing it, but it shouldn't carry over for a lifetime of these houses, because this isn't gonna last.
Some of them are gonna get bit with those prices when they readjust. Yeah, when reality sets in that you can only borrow X. Yeah.
On your appraised house that's double.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll probably make contact with Jonathan and Kathy to, maybe we'll dig up what we had written last year for establishing the
Yeah.
capital reserve fund. And then we'll tweak it for this year. And then, I'll probably be back next month or something.
Well, and when you get towards the year end, you got a pretty cool idea how you budget, somewhere, what range it might fall in, Is she leaving, has she left, or is she in the process of?
November 1st.
November 1st.
So we're looking right now.
Yeah.
And, like I said, the only surplus we may have is if we hire a new librarian at a lower salary, then we.
Yeah, you have a little wiggle room.
So if you don't find, you have an assistant or something to run it, or you'll have to close it?
No, Wendy will take on more hours,
When's Wendy come back?
right around the same time, I think. And there is a temp there now.
Well, how long has she worked for you? It's been
7 years.
7 years. Oh, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah,
Well, she's done a nice job.
she's been great, yeah.
Bigger job, or just retired?
Closer to home.
Different.
Well, she's gonna be the assistant city clerk.
Yes.
Clerk, right, at
She's doing an
Burlington.
administrative job
Oh,
in Burlington.
Yeah,
She is from Berlin.
I think she was a Winooski.
Colchester.
Colchester.
Yeah, so, yeah, at the commute and the hours are a factor.
Well, she's got two little ones, right?
She does. Okay.
Okay, Peter?
We'll put something together and show you, go over with you before the budget gets finalized. All right, and we'll probably have by next month, we have a rough budget, but we'll have a,
More formal.
more formal one by next month.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. Nice.
Have a good night.
See you, Peter.
Is Dave not gonna be here?
No, he
He's
was thinking he
quarantined.
might call in.
Oh,
but
yeah. Oh, nuts.
He
Well, his
didn't
boy
email that
is,
he
so
was
he
coming.
just quarantined just to be safe.
Yeah.
So everybody have a chance to do the minutes? Have a motion, or anybody want to?
We never heard anything back. Oh, Dave was the one that contacted Boone Burleson, right? We didn't hear anything back on that. Should just make sure we talk about it at the next meeting so we don't forget it
What
again.
are we talking about?
About repairs to the old town clerk
He
building.
was gonna talk to Boomer Olson about a quote.
We did get an email,
Yeah.
this afternoon that I printed off. It's, I think I can't remember, but it was just literally like half an hour, 40 minutes ago that I saw it.
Did they give any numbers?
I
or-
can grab it. It's right on my desk. Would you like me to?
Yeah, might as well. then. Other than that, I guess I'd make them, their minutes are as I recall them.
Yeah, the only thing we talked about the issue in East Fairfield, but that's, we don't have to put that in the minutes, that's what it should be.
Which issue?
That's good.
Oh,
No.
that's
That
not,
was in executive session.
yeah.
That was in executive session. We didn't have that in the minutes. That was the executive session tax issue.
I wonder if Mo ever got hold of, I saw Jordan St. Pierre the other day, at Chester's just stopped on him, about that limb down by Jack Allen's.
Yeah, you gonna call Gabby. They had them before, and I said, that's fine. I said, if you guys don't feel safe cutting it down, I
Right.
said, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want it, because they cut one somewhere on telephone wire and almost cut James. You know, they didn't realize
The wire was in the
Spring.
tree. Yeah.
I said, that's fine. You know, and those little dead ones, it's hard to,
They know where they're gonna go.
yeah.
There's 11 windows for 7,000.
I said, push it with the loader, but I don't know, if they want it in
The
the
only thing I'd
pasture or
like to
not,
see
but
is,
still don't know where they're
a
gonna,
not
could
to
break,
exceed price.
just
for the-
come over, knock into the loader.
Yeah.
Where is this?
Hmm?
Where?
Just below Barry's, above James Callan, right there, just below her driveway, there's a big limb hanging out, but, we're gonna cut the whole tree, but it's all dead, so they don't dare to quite cut it themselves, so.
There's a few like that. In fact, I looked at one this weekend when I was going and I forgot to.
This is a quote that they got. This includes the windows and everything. And those, I mean, even they get started on the trim on the front. Those windows. Talked to Eddie the other day, and he said they were back out to 3 months. If you order specific sizes again.
Is this who, this is?
This is Boone, I
Boone.
guess. Yeah, he lives up on Crow, wow. He bought one, I think Jody Kane's place up there. That one that comes right out back onto Duffy Hill Road.
I mean, that's not too bad, I don't think.
I wouldn't think it'd be
I mean, even if we
much
did-
raw because it's all concrete. You get
Yeah,
the
that's the
frame.
only thing I'd want not to exceed certain price to that
Yeah.
line.
Yeah,
But even if we did the pillars and half the windows this year,
right.
get,
The windows, I mean, I'm just thinking, if you order them now, you're not gonna get them till January,
Yeah.
at best.
That would give some time for me to do a little more research on Vermont energy efficiency,
Yeah.
reimbursement.
We don't have to do this tonight, but at our next meeting, that would give you time to,
I did some research, from the state of Vermont to see what kind of rehab
yeah.
programs there might be, and was just really pointed back into the direction of energy efficiency.
Yeah.
And that might be the case here for those windows. But again, let's bring it up at our next meeting. Maybe we'll give you more time to give us some more information for us.
You ever talk to Mike, or haven't seen him,
No, I haven't seen it.
just to get a, you know, another bid to compare him with?
Right, of course, he doesn't do much of anything. Mike,
Let him know.
yeah, I mean, he still does sales work, but he doesn't do much, I don't think he does much of the molding anymore.
No, but I know like he did this, so I didn't know if he would.
Right, but I don't think he's doing any of that kind of
What
stuff.
about that guy on Parity Road that worked on Chester's?
Yeah,
Adam Brush,
he ran over that budget pretty big.
did he?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
been there double.
yeah. That's why I
Plus he
went,
was pretty slow.
yeah. 11 windows, I mean, those windows are at least $600 a piece, I bet. 700.
How old are those windows?
How old are those?
Yeah,
Well, the building was put up, I believe, 1948, the
so
original windows.
that was the only angle that there was. If the windows are considered antique, you know.
Oh,
old
they're historic windows?
Historic windows.
Yeah, those
then-
are.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
say they
I
are.
didn't think so.
No,
They were just,
just slide, you know, just regular
and they threw some
wooden and bang.
aluminum storms over them, that's all.
Might be something to ask, Pat Malone to find like a grant too.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah. Keep him busy and off the streets. But they're pretty ripe.
You wanna email him? You have you met
I
him yet?
do. I haven't met him yet, no.
So we gonna accept the minutes, says?
Need a second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
No,
You first did it.
Oh, I thought you first did it. Well, it doesn't matter, one way or the other. Off we go.
You just second it, Rob?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Did Mo have any big things that he was worried about before he left? or-
He really didn't. He,
Okay.
actually, I didn't know that he was gone until today. So, but he'll be back on tomorrow.
You have some paperwork?
I have a report for you guys. I just have some questions and some ideas, and hopefully we're not gonna do too much, but, this is just a report from me. I did tell you that I would look up, and see what the difference between the Blue Cross Blue Shield was from last year to this year, and actually it's decreased. The premiums have gone, down, but the deductibles have gone up.
Yes.
So the cost to the town would be less, but the cost to the people is more. And I suspect that has to do with COVID investments into human services. Do you have any questions about that? I actually have the paperwork if you wanted to look at it.
And there are no plans that have the same deductibles.
Yeah, the deductibles are, I think that you would still be, no more than the two-person plan going
Yeah.
forward. And actually, interestingly, the two-person plan is, less expensive, I mean, is more expensive than the adult and child or children plan. So realistically, you're covering anything from the single to the adult and child or children.
Wonder why that is.
2 adults cost more than 2 kids, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, it's just one adult, sure, that's what I
Mhm. So, I'm not sure if you need any action on that, but, the other information that I have that's different from last year is that the annual report contract increased. I guess that there is a worldwide paper shortage and the paper costs are going up everywhere. So the cost to do the exact same thing with the annual report has gone from $1,288 to $1,705. And the contract is actually due right away, so we actually would like to know if you have any concerns or if we need to change anything on the annual report.
Who's doing the printing now?
It's Repro. They're the same people that we used last year. They're Winooski.
Put it rice.
It is, I think,
Paper.
yeah, wood and paper, it's going up.
Just a bit of pulp with this winter on top, make some money.
Yeah.
What's that, what did you say, the town, this part of the town report, you said?
Yeah, this is the annual report. And it would be, I know that last year you removed the audit section, so that is not included in this as well. So it would be the same report that you had last year in terms of pages and what's included.
I don't think there's probably a lot of people that do that, so we probably don't have much choice. So we
Yeah,
could-
right.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't think there's many
I
small.
mean, you've always done a good job, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
I
So-
would make a motion that you could do that.
Okay.
guess we'll stick with them.
Any second?
Yeah, I'd second Tom's motion, just to move it along.
Okay.
All those in favor, or is there any other comments? All those in favor?
Yeah, I guess we could start looking around for next year, because this year's gonna be a short year. Who knows, who the heck knows? I mean, the price of gas going where it's going and everything else right now.
I'll look into who else is doing this for the other municipalities and see for next year what we might be able to do.
It's like gas is going crazy. They claim it's still gonna keep going.
A few years ago, it was $3.90. I
Right,
remember one song.
that's when when oil got over 100 something a barrel, it's $80
Yeah.
right now.
I'm gonna say it's over 80 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 80, yeah, upper 80s.
It's only gonna get more into the pandemic, because those people that aren't working, they're gonna be traveling, they don't wanna work, so. What they say, there's 8 billion containers out there.
Oh, and on ships?
66 container ships parked outside of Los Angeles right now. That's heard that on the way over here.
Because they can't get them unloaded, right? Or they can't get them
Used
transported.
Used to be 30 minutes worth of wait, of like a 30-minute window that they came in, now they wait 11 days to get in.
Yeah, we put it in, but they have no way to unload, well, after they get them unloaded, they have no trucks to move them.
And,
One guy was on the news the other night, he used to make 20 trips a week. He's making 5 now.
because you can't get drivers for his trucks.
Why, he can't get loaded.
Oh. Well, maybe it'll be less stuff we won't be buying we don't really need.
Well, it's like we said, Christmas, so
Yeah.
things are already gone now, you don't have anything. Well, skipping anything you look. You know, there's no Gatorade or any of that stuff on the shelves.
Yeah, it's cool.
Juice.
Your Explain.
So, did you have a vote? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. The opioid settlement, in turn, we've gotten a notice that the opioid settlement in Vermont, there's money available if the municipalities want to tap into it. We'd have to apply. And that funding, I did some research, would be going toward prevention and treatment, training, and first responder wellness related to the opioid epidemic. So it would have to go into funding related activities. And that was, you had requested that I look into that, so that was what I found out. Is there anything that you would like to do from there? If that's something you're interested in me pursuing?
It's just a letter that I got come through the mail.
Yeah.
Kathy had got an email.
Yeah, and I can,
So-
I mean,
This
there's
is
no
the-
programs or anything we have in town.
No,
yeah. And there's also a section that says if you want to do some research to find out how it's affected your community, you can do that too. But it didn't seem, I've gone to a few meetings at this point, it's not something that seems to be at the top of people's agenda in this community, so I'm not sure that you would need to go in this direction unless you think that there are multiple overdoses happening in the community that maybe your first responders should get some type of training or wellness opportunity because of.
I guess we'd want to talk to the fire department.
I was gonna say, if Dave was here, he would know whether
Guess,
they,
yeah, talk to Dave, because they've dealt with that before.
'cause they always get called to
Yeah.
assist in the ambulance.
And use the Narcan stuff, right? All that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they have it, but I know they just used to always, whenever the ambulance came, they always called the fire department for
Yeah.
assistance, no matter whether they need them or not.
Okay, so I can talk to Dave about that and see
Yeah.
if that would be of interest to him.
And we could talk about it next meeting.
Okay. There was a FEMA grant that was really purely for the firefighters, and it was denied, so I thought you might want to know that.
Is that one they can reapply again, like next year?
They can, yeah, reapply every year. And I do have a list of the other communities in Vermont that received that grant. So there is a lot of money available, so we can apply again. The problem this year, they said, was that it was very competitive. There are many applications, and I'm not sure if that will be true again next year or not, so.
Remember Jonathan and Dave talked about it, that meeting about.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a match to that grant?
I tried to dig through Jonathan's
Yeah.
files and didn't find the written piece. I guess it's at the fire station, so,
I
that's
think
what.
there was a small one, but the fire department was gonna use them, use their money.
A
to
lot of those
match it.
grants you get denied because you don't offer up enough match.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
So-
think it was, it tells you already at the beginning what the match was, but.
Yeah.
So they made 1,887 awards totaling $319.5 million.
Jeez.
Maybe
Maybe they weren't asking for enough.
Well, it was all over, from all over the country. So in Vermont, there were, I think, 5.
Yeah.
10 organizations, 10 municipalities that received it. I just want to say, like, backing up for just a minute, I've had a lot of conversations with people, and I do want to give you some updates at the end. This is sort of the touch and go things that I just want to make sure that we have. I know what you would like me to do and what you wouldn't like me to do on these items, because they seem to be sort of hanging out there. The Flagman program, I did look into. There is a program through the Vermont Local Roads. It's an online program. It used to be online and in person, but they've gone completely online. And I did talk to Mo about this, and he's interested, but we have to identify a computer space and time for the road crew to be able to access that, because they don't all have that type of thing available to them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, they have a pretty good computer over to the town garage, so they could do it right there, all of them.
they have to do it individually, and there's a test. So they have to, Most told me that it would be better if they were able to identify a computer outside of the town garage. And I said that I would look into maybe the library, or perhaps there would be one here. But they would need to be able to have, a set time when they could access that. So I was gonna go ahead and look into that, if you think that would work for you.
It's all online.
It's all
Nothing-
online, and it's completely free.
Nothing.
How long does it take?
It takes, I'm not sure how many hours, actually, I didn't get that information back, but,
I would look into that and see,
Okay.
I mean, how quick they could do it. They could start it maybe before they start plowing. I mean,
Yeah.
get it done now
Yeah.
before they get busy.
okay,
I mean, there must be a,
so I'll move forward with
they
that.
could do it, if they had to be private, they could, you know, Mando's old office, or I guess
Mhm.
you could set one up in here, right? Well, it could be, right, would there be one?
Yeah,
Just need a
any
computer.
computer.
Must be Jackson here.
Okay,
So
so I'll
you don't
work,
need a jack.
Just wireless, right?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I'll work with Maurice to identify a schedule for the road crew.
Okay.
I wanted to bring up, so the cannabis legislation is coming from the state. I'm not sure how much you talked about that here, but it is, kind of a hot topic in the communities. And I just wanted to bring it up because the legislation is allowing, basically the local communities, the municipalities, to decide to either opt in to allowing people to sell cannabis, or decide not to opt in. And if you opt into allowing this, there needs to be a warning on the next, there needs to be a vote as well. So we would need to put that out there. I don't think that this would be something that you would,
I can't say I'm biting into that, are you? Tom?
yeah,
I was wondering, we don't have anything, there's nothing in November, right, for election, or I just wanted to brought it up at town meeting,
mhm.
you know, let the people decide, I guess. But
Right.
no, I mean, I don't,
There's nothing I'm going to instigate on or vote on my part for it.
And you may just want to do a straw poll to find out.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing is that this is, it shouldn't be regulated as a farming product, as an agricultural practice. This is really about regulating the sale
just
of
going in and
cannabis.
Huh?
out, somebody just going in and out, or?
No, there's been a low battery warning on several smoke detectors throughout the building. Every time I come in at night, I have to push the stop annoying me button.
And I'll be calling them next week. I found out. So,
So go back to your farm, say that again, with the farming part?
yeah, so, this is a commercial product. They've made a decision. So the cannabis legislation allows, and would allow the communities to have local control over licenses, just like a liquor license, to be able to sell cannabis. And it's considered a commercial product, so it's not considered an agricultural product, which means that any of the agricultural laws around cultivating this product do not apply. So they've done basically a survey through all the communities in Vermont, and they've done a roundtable discussion to come to some agreements on this. And I do have, if you're interested in more information, I do have what the roundtable results were. And basically, if you opt in, if the community decides to opt into allowing cannabis to be sold, it would be like a storefront kind of thing. It would be allowing people to get a license to sell. And we would have to establish a commission, like a liquor license commission, internally. The community,
Just like liquor licenses for
Yeah.
James and Pearl, the same
And-
thing.
yeah, and they would need to, we would need to put it to a vote in the community about if we would want to do something like that.
And it's not the growing, it's the selling.
So,
The
when is
growing,
that,
anyone can, that's state
That's
mandated.
mandated. Yep.
When is this coming about?
Next year,
Next year?
yeah.
Mhm.
First of the year or first of July?
I don't know the answer, do you, Kathy?
I don't know the answer to that either.
I can find out. Give me a second. I know the committee that's working on the rules for sale are behind schedule.
Mhm. So some of the things that they're requiring, that they're trying to work on, this commission, this group, is that they're trying to make sure that they're very clear about what licensing and renewal will look like, what would cause what would cause suspension of a license and revocation,
October 2022.
oversight requirements,
3 years
employment and
left on that
training,
mortgage.
what kind of packaging, I mean, they're doing everything.
He was trying to tell us there were 7.
Yeah.
Burlington, Brattleboro, Montpelier,
So-
Winooski,
Yeah. I was gonna go when she brought some first, she's gonna talk about it, so.
Yeah.
and 15 other Vermont municipalities voted at last town meeting
Right,
to approve retail sales.
right.
Closest to us,
I'm sure Burlington did. I don't know about the city.
Burlington and Winooski, not the city. Not city, nobody up here. Burlington and Winooski are the closest.
So I would be willing to give you more information on what you would want to consider in making a decision of whether you want to even put this on a warrant, you know, on as a warrant item. It's just wanted to introduce the conversation with you because it's coming.
Maybe you could open it out over by the pond, bro.
So, let me know if you need anything else for that, moving forward, and we can make a decision on.
I just don't know what we're gaining, I guess.
Right.
Headache.
Yeah, that's
That
what
sounds
I'm
like
looking
a
at, that, and I'm
big
thinking, this little town doesn't need that part of the game, you know?
Well, it's not as though we have any less of it
Right,
by not being licensed.
right, I was gonna say, there seems to be a self-supply.
So that isn't likely to change.
No.
Part of this is a taxing thing, so there is tax available on, they're gonna be taxing this. So one of the reasons why some towns are allowing this is because it would be more income for the town.
The town gets the income?
So if you have a
Percentage
local
of.
option tax, and then there's also, they're working on what it would mean to have other taxing options as well. But,
I think it's more of a sales job than.
I don't know how many liquor licenses you give out on a regular basis, but
Two.
2. Yeah, so,
Well, and then occasionally we'll do a temporary one for a venue, for a party. But 2, we only have 2 in town.
so the other option is, you know, if there's no big demand at this point, you haven't heard anything that people want out of this, you know, it might just be something to,
And maybe
know it's
as it
there.
goes along, it may come up.
mhm,
Somebody may request a license or,
mhm.
and we could deal with it then, I guess.
So, and I have this roundtable discussion that if you're interested in looking at it, I can make copies of. And this just gives you some information about it. I know, I couldn't figure out how to do it opposite.
I don't really see the advantage, you want to?
No.
I don't see the
So-
advantage of us getting ourselves involved something,
Yeah,
but
no,
it's still minor return to us.
I'd say unless somebody comes in and wants to sell and
Yeah,
makes a big issue of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe.
I'd let some things just ride.
yeah. So now you're proactively,
Yeah.
you know, you're informed, so that's
Yeah.
good. So, you know, I have just some neighborly conversations happening. I talked to the community center about their activities. They had a planning retreat this Saturday for their activities. I did talk with Sarah before she left about, basically how things are going at the library. She's feeling pretty confident.
This says 3 years. Peter
I
said
know,
7.
that's what Sarah said. Sarah told me 3, so I don't know. I don't know
Right,
which is
that's what
true.
I'm thinking, that changes my outlook on establishing this other fund.
I know, so Sarah said 3 and he said 7. I don't know which is which.
Things don't change, in that situation.
Well, I
Somebody
know,
doesn't know what they're talking about. It's hard to know which one.
I guess when they bring it to us, say, wait a minute, we're getting 2 different readings here, you're saying 7, 3 years, you should be able to start using
James
it.
isn't interested in selling pot in the store.
Well, he's got all that empty counter space he doesn't use.
Not interested.
Yeah,
He'd sell more donuts maybe, but he's not interested.
yeah.
That's good. So, I know that came out. I was surprised to hear that when after my meeting I had the.
Probably should have had these out before then, and then we could have said to him,
Well, that was what Sarah said, so now we have 2 different stories,
Right.
and I'll look into, which is the real shebang. So, in terms of, the library, they are, like he said, they are looking for a new librarian. I don't know how much you would like me to be involved with that, they haven't invited me to be involved with that at all. So, I'm still getting the lay of the land about, where should I be, and how close to the community partners should we be involved with.
they seem to like to have their own autonomy, I guess would be the right
Yeah.
word.
The only time they come here is when they want money.
Yeah, pretty much, seems like.
So Sarah and I, and also the community center folks, I've been sort of learning that I think that the community center and the library and rec would like to be more involved with each other and communicating. So I'm hoping that we can have more kind of open lines of communication about who's doing what pretty soon. I started working with, I started updating the Facebook page. I mean, I think that communication is what people are craving right now. Just knowing what is happening at the library, what is happening with the community, what's happening with rec, and what direction do we want to go together. So, in terms of the needs, the pulse that I'm getting is that people want communication. I'm not sure that me being involved with hiring and things like that would be appropriate, but I do think that being at meetings a little bit more, maybe,
Couldn't they,
communicating,
couldn't they do like a little newsletter of their, that they could pass before us and everybody else? I mean,
yeah,
their updates or whatever we already know what the community center wishes are, so.
yeah.
but-
Yeah, it's the fact that everybody's sharing the same community. I think that there's a desire, what I'm hearing is that there's a desire for the community to be connecting more. And I was encouraged by one of the folks at the community center to consider reinstating the grant writing committee, the grants committee, and that hasn't been meeting. So I'm curious, it seems like that might be a good way to just get everybody on the same page about what is happening with each other, because I don't think that any of the people who are in the different groups are actually coming together on a regular basis.
So
right
they
now.
haven't been meeting like they used to?
They used to meet, the
Oh, yeah,
grant committee used to meet, and it
there
used
was 5 or 6 people on it, I remember
Yeah.
that.
from the
Yeah, what
different
Melanie
areas.
was, but Patrick may not have established that again.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he must have been aware, or maybe he isn't
He
aware.
might not know.
He might not be aware, so maybe we need to make him
He
more.
might not know he's supposed to do it.
Yeah.
We haven't really given him any direction
Right.
Yeah, we haven't really talked to him since
since we.
He came one meeting,
Right,
yeah.
but other than that,
So
so,
what role has he been playing at this point?
he's worked on some grants, but I think each group has probably approached him individually.
Okay.
Maybe they need to get back on
to
this.
a grant committee, like he
Meet
may not
once a
have even
month.
established a committee, like he might not
one.
He might
before.
not, yeah, he might
Yeah.
not know.
So I guess maybe we ought to reach out to him and just say, you know, this is what you're hearing from your end,
Yeah,
and that there was a committee.
You haven't met him?
I have.
You haven't, he's very,
Why not?
very
Why don't we
approachable.
have
Oh,
fun
good.
with
Hell of a
this
nice
meeting and
guy,
discuss that
you'll
with
like
him?
him.
Great.
He's a great guy, knows a lot about grants, real easy to get along with.
Okay.
He just probably needs a little push in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't we have him come to the next meeting and then she can meet him and we could talk
We could
about
ask him
this
to come to it.
committee.
Simple,
yeah,
Do you want me to do that?
yeah.
Sure. That sounds good.
A smarter way of approaching it, and so he knows what we're talking about. He knows how to handle it.
So Julie Wolcott and Sarah have both, in their own time, come to me and asked about it. So I think it would be worth, you know, bringing it to the table.
I only have his UVM address. I'll talk to him on Saturday.
Okay. So the only other two things are that, our neighbor next door, this is random, and I know that it's random, but it is a question I don't know the answer to. There's right next door, Molly Huff, right next door, she lives in the house there. She is a yoga teacher, and she would like to borrow this space for a yoga class. And I talked to Linda about if that has happened in the past, and she said that it has, but the only obstacle was that sometimes we don't want to share the key to the space, and a person who is employed by the town should be here. So that was the, what was that?
Do you wanna take yogurt?
I don't know, but I wanted to bring it to the table because she's also offering to give a percentage of her income from the classes to the town, and to borrow the space. So it seems like
Maybe she should work with the rec committee, since they're using the old school.
So she's already looked into the rec committee, she's talked to the rec committee, and she's looked at the old school, and it isn't ready for her class. And she's also looked at the community center, and the floors there are really hard. So in terms of what she wants to do, she loves the space, and and it's right next door, so it seemed like a good option. I didn't want to make any decisions without talking to you, but it seemed to me like a good idea.
Seems like the last time they did a yoga thing, it turned into a hassle. Quite a hassle, if I remember right, the
Is it
keys,
weekly
the
or
logs.
we couldn't give, I don't want to give any keys away.
Right.
I don't think that that's.
Setting the alarm, I
Yeah,
just
no,
remember it turned
it would
into
just
quite a
be-
hassle.
Is it a weekly thing she wants to do?
It would be a weekly thing, yeah, and we haven't identified a time, but I would suggest if we decided to do this, that we set a time that makes sense for the town and not necessarily for the person who's, you know, the contractor. I think that, and I wouldn't mind looking into that because I love yoga, so it would be something that I could think about doing if she were here.
You
But-
could also have her do it when I have class, if she wants to be up here.
All the same night you do stuff downstairs.
Oh, you do,
Yeah, I
Right,
use
is
the
that-
downstairs space for my drug rec classes.
That's weekly too.
Tuesday and Thursday, not all year long, but Tuesday and Thursday quite a bit. 9 weeks in a row, 5 times a year, 4 times a year.
at what time?
6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And I'm here, so I could lock, like I could let her in and lock them out after.
Or you could get free yogurt for watching Oprah. A perk.
Yeah, I think, I actually think that it would make sense. This is a beautiful space, it's rarely used right now, it looks like. And if it feels like a place that the community would wanna come, I think that's a great
We
thing.
could try it on a trial basis or something.
Or throw those 2 evenings out to her. You know, or
What
Tuesday
about
or-
what about the liabilities, the
I
insurance?
can ask her about that.
She would have to have insurance.
She would have to
on
have
her.
insurance, right?
Yeah.
She didn't say anything about that in her proposal. But I do know that she did teach, before she moved to Berwick. I don't know when she moved exactly, but before she moved here, she was a teacher, she taught yoga, so I'll ask her about her insurance.
She's been here 6 months.
Yeah, I'd like to know to get the nice old cars all the time, the older vehicles.
6 months anyway.
Huh, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
She says she gets a lot of people stopping by to talk about those old cars.
Oh, yeah.
So I have like an umbrella liability policy that covers my operation in the building, so that if somebody was to slip and fall walking down the stairs or whatever, my insurance covers it, not the town's.
Okay. All right, I'll bring
That would be
to
my
her.
only concern. is-
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ron, you don't know this. For my driver ed classes, I discount Fairfield residents
Oh, do you?
for the
Yeah.
use of the space.
So if they make you retrain for insurance purposes.
And really, that's it for me. We're still working. I'm learning a lot.
Just before you, the recreation thing, I don't think, I agree with you, I don't think they should be using a credit card.
Yeah, so.
Well, who's JD?
Jonathan?
Jonathan,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh.
So, a couple things. I am learning a lot about accounts payable and quarter end and all of the nuts and bolts of that, but I also come with some experience of processing accounts payable. And I've rarely been in a situation where a credit card is shared, as it has been between, she's been using Jonathan's credit card, and
She being who?
sorry, what's her name? I'm still
Rebecca?
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you. Rebecca's been using the credit card to purchase the rec supplies. And it gets very complicated in the back end of how that looks. So a couple things. One is that Jonathan's credit card will be canceled pretty soon. And I would like to create some type of a plan with Rebecca about purchasing that's different than what she's been doing. So perhaps a purchase order process where she could tell us how much she needs of what in advance, and then where she wants to buy it, and then we can order it for her, or, just in terms of organizing that process, it really does need to be kind of taken care of at this point.
Probably Charlie was approving it
Either
before.
that or give her a credit card out of their own account, so
Well,
they.
they create their own credit card for the rec committee or something with a limit on it, because they got a budget of only so much.
Right. And actually, the way in which the library does accounts payable is very organized. In comparison, it's very different, and it really does have to do with the fact, part of it is that they have their own credit card account, their own accounts, and then they also have a cover letter that comes along with all of the payable, and it on the back end, my end, it's much more organized and much
Yeah.
more efficient. And
Sounds like we need to tell them how we want it done
right,
and keep them separate, keep things separated.
yeah.
So I don't think they should, they won't have it anyways, but not
Right.
access to your.
Right, once you get it, because it'll be established in your name,
I'll
or for the
leave,
town
yeah,
of Fairfield agent, blah, blah,
that
blah.
would be, so there, right now, there's a credit card, for me, one for the library, one for, Linda. And they're used in very different ways, by default, I guess Jonathan's credit card has been the recreation credit card as well. She's been using that, and she's either been borrowing it to make purchases. If she can't borrow it, then she pays, I think we have over $300 of reimbursement to her, this accounts payable for, and it's all legitimate purchases. It's all, the run for gym needed, there's all kinds of things. There's wonderful things happening with Trunk or Treat. All of the expenses are legit. It's just very complicated when it comes to how we reimburse.
Have them sort of set up an account like the library, and have them roll their own credit card with they can only go so far.
Right, with a limit, with a set limit on it, and like that, when you get those cover letters from the library where everything's laid out, when it was purchased, and receipts to.
What is full
follow
of
it. Yeah, they gotta have a better, it's
So,
better for us too,
No, it'd be better,
yeah.
yes. And that's, cause that's got too much limit on it, or unlimited funds.
Right, yeah.
With Jonathan's, or the town administrator must have a bigger limit. I mean, if some person get.
Is there a limit on that card?
I don't know what the limit is actually.
There's a limit,
I'd have to.
Right, but I mean,
But in
it could be
terms of-
25,000 instead of 3,000,
Right.
you know?
So if we wanted to go in that direction, I guess I would suggest that maybe a motion to, we have to cancel Jonathan's credit card anyway, which will be good because I guess that there's some, it's been saved. The number has been saved, so we have to cancel that card. And then if we're putting a new town administrator card in place for me, we could also put a new credit card in for rec under her name, under Rebecca's name, and then that would all come to us anyway for approval and you for approval, so it would
Was she
not.
just the chairman or something? Rebecca,
I think Rebecca and
Sure.
Charlie are the co-chairs.
what's Rebecca's last name?
Choman, CHON.
She lives on the road, right after, Rennie St. Pierre's Road. Rebecca's that first house,
Oh, okay.
right across from St. Pierre Road. She's an artiste.
Well, it just sounds like it needs to be a better method, so I guess that's what we need to do.
You get the statements on this, right?
Yeah, all the statements also come to you, we have them
Yeah.
organized,
Yeah.
so it's, accounts payable only goes through this office,
Yeah.
myself, so.
Yeah.
So I'll
And
make a
then we
motion
can-
that you,
Does that need a motion?
I know.
well.
I think that Kathy is something that Kathy is in charge of, because
You
it's.
can cancel one and start two.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out, I guess we need to make sure like the recreation one has a realistic limit on it, you know?
Yeah,
Like 3, 5,000, I don't know, their budget's 11,000 now.
right, and they've already gone through, so we've just done quarter end, we'll have an idea of how much they've spent out of that,
Yeah,
and we can make an estimate, and I
Yeah,
can,
maybe have her come in too and just go over it with her a little bit, just to.
absolutely, I don't wanna do anything without having a conversation, I mean, I think communication is essential, so.
Right, that's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, and talk to her about where this came from. I think that it'll be more efficient. I can't imagine paying for the amount of supplies that she's paying for just out of her pocket and then getting reimbursed
Right.
partially. That's a concern just in terms of her welfare. I don't know her background, but I would feel uncomfortable doing that. I don't know if she does, but yeah, so this could solve a lot. I
right,
think. Thank you for that. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting to know people. I'm still, I got through, probably 3/4 through accounts payable, and about an hour ago, I realized that I had things out of order, and Jonathan came in and helped, and it was very helpful. But, this is my first AP. I think it's very
Good job.
organized. I think it's
job,
ready to
girl.
go. I know. I'm happy that it's done, and I'm my fingers are gonna be in the right place, and I'm gonna know all of the vendors pretty soon.
I see you got some nice stickers.
I have the stickers. I heard that request. I did. And I'm getting more comfortable. I wasn't here today. I was traveling from. I went to Cape Cod this weekend to visit my daughter and with my mom. So I traveled all day today, and I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts because it's the holiday. But in general, I feel really good about what's going on, and I love this town. I've had only positive conversations with people at this point. I'm so happy to be here.
Nice.
And I just really am so happy. And interestingly, the community center, I told you they had a retreat, it's a planning retreat, not a retreat, planning retreat, and they contracted with Claire Wheeler, who is a former colleague of mine, and I found out that she was doing that, which is really great, and I heard from her, and I'm not sure if I should have said this, I should even mention this, but I heard from her that they did a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, at the community center, And one of the things really like warmed my heart was that somebody said the town administrator is going to be a pleasure to work with. And I was like, oh, it's so nice to hear, because I'm just trying my best right now, and it's just nice to be able to hear that already.
Nice.
So yeah, it's wonderful, and Linda's amazing, by the way, just really great. So
Good for you.
thank you.
She can be such a bear.
She knows everything. She's
She
brilliant. I mean, she really knows everything in
She
terms.
can be a bear.
Well, she has her, her personality. We all have our personality.
Did you ever meet her dad?
What was that? No, not
Is
yet.
this highlighted for any reason?
Good question. So, let me just make sure that I remember that one.
Yeah, 2 peas in a pod, those two, huh?
Oh,
Yes,
Jerry
that
and
one, we
Linda?
just need a new
Jerry
invoice
Yates
because the invoice
and
number was
Linda?
cut off.
Oh,
So we gave it its own invoice
Yeah.
number, but we're gonna ask for
although
that,
I think Linda's,
that invoice again.
Jerry was pretty mellow. Linda is, I think she's a little,
High strung.
well, was snobbish or whatever. Off the record.
So I am looking forward, I'm volunteered for, I volunteered for the trunk or treat. I did volunteer for the run with Jim, but I ended up, my son, he's a hunter, and he flipped his, he was putting his bow on his four-wheeler and had a
His opinion of
bungee
himself
cord
is
snap
overrated.
back and bust his
It's not that
eye
applied to a
up
lot of
on his
folks.
forehead, so he was bleeding, and I was like, I have to go, but I can't go, so I didn't go to the run, but I guess it was a great success.
Chet, by the way, not
Chet.
Jim.
Jim, that's right, I meant that.
I wonder what she was,
I'm sorry,
Chet, she's
I'm
talking
sorry, I
about
got
for
the
Chet.
wrong run,
That's
sorry
all
about
right,
that.
no
yeah.
worries.
Thinking of Jim Bashaw.
Yeah, exactly, I just,
my nephew won that.
He did? Which
No,
nephew?
No.
Really? Good for
Yeah,
him.
he, wow, and he's gone to a couple other meets, NASCAR talked to him, he's going to, with the BFA team to, New York this weekend.
I thought that was last weekend.
Syracuse.
Oh,
Who's this, Tom?
No,
because Ruby
Oh,
DeSaro went to
Luke's
Manhattan
good.
last
Oh, good
weekend.
for him.
he came in, well, his
How old is he
time,
now?
he's an 8th grader.
Yeah.
His time was the second best in the state,
oh, wow.
No kidding.
so I guess
We're turning out
NASCAR took a little, eye to him and.
Yeah, we're turning out some quick runners up here in Franklin County.
So this is one of our residents, one of our kids?
Pardon?
And this
Nephew.
is your nephew? Oh,
No.
no kidding.
Grandson, right?
Grandson.
Grandson, yeah.
That's great.
Wow, it was-
Grandson.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
David says. How about the opioid training for the fire department? Let's look into it.
Okay, sounds good.
Wow.
And he didn't call in because the kids are crazy. Being cooped up and crazy. Good old COVID.
So any other business? I
Did
think
you get
that's it
a
for me.
account established with Bocan so they can, or how
Did
does
I
that
what?
work? Did you get an account established with Bocan Ford, so
Not yet.
future repairs?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, we did, actually, we have that established at this point. So, yeah, there was a moment where, the account wasn't established and, we weren't sure if we were gonna use the credit card or not, for Maurice's credit card. And the turnaround was like, I think I had 24 hours to figure it out, so we ended up, establishing an account. So I did have a really nice conversation with Maurice about, just the other day, about just some details, where he's gonna show me some of the projects in town. We've decided that he's gonna bring me out and show me some of the projects that are happening. Yeah, and I'm doing a lot of reading in terms of, just to get up to speed on what's out there and the FEMA grant and So I'm learning a lot in terms of that as well. There's no big update at this point, but just know that that is also percolating in my brain.
I think, Randy Reed wants to sit down probably with you and, Jonathan, just to get the update and
Okay,
everybody get on the same page for, the Jewett project.
okay,
He's talked to some people, but he just wants to get acquainted with Jonathan and you, so for the future.
okay,
Well, I'll get Jonathan's update, see how far they are,
yeah.
and then you and him will be working together to finish it up.
So at this point, it looks like we're just going to need some conversations with the property owners and getting some right-of-ways around, their property. And then, I can't remember all of the details, but,
I thought they had the easements already.
so we have easements, but not with the property owners. We have other easements for the bridge. But we need, I guess there's something that we need to do with the property owners around the bridge. That was what Jonathan told me. And then once
Brian
that,
Horton probably, right? And,
And Calderoni.
Barry, Beefy.
and then, the lawyer will have to
It's
look
on
at
the Berry
everything.
side? That's
That
on the
land's
Calderoni
included.
side.
No, it's on this one, I think, believe, the one before.
I thought it was on the other side. That's where the little things are sticking in the woods. It's
You
on
mean the other
south-
side of that Moran's?
On the south side, before Moran is Calderoni.
Yeah.
Some of it's on
The project will take both sides of the
the
road.
road, right.
You gotta do, you gotta,
Do it with both.
well, you gotta, the layback or the cutbacks and all that stuff will take up a lot of.
So it'd be Berry, Calderoni,
I'll
Moran.
make a motion, we accept the warrants. That's what I'm saying. Get that one done, huh?
Thank you. So I guess that in terms of that project, the goal is to be able to get something out to bid by January. It looks
Yeah,
very,
that's what he
very,
told
very
me, 'cause
doable.
I met with Randy,
Yeah,
down on the North Road with, Barry Calhoun, Tuesday,
great.
Wednesday morning. That's gonna be a fun project,
Which one?
one by Robin Jennings. It's on ledge, so they don't know what it is, so I guess the option is he's supposed to come some meet, he's gonna make 2 proposals, but, they're just gonna kinda wing it, dig it up and make it fit. Cause they don't know how that, it's sitting on ledge, but they don't know how wide they went. And, you gotta go from 5 foot to 12 foot.
Yeah.
He's thinking maybe an arch cement
Mm.
with a temporary bridge.
It would be nice if Robbie and Danny would put the cows under the road, wouldn't it? Instead of,
Well, a 12 footer, you could
sure they could.
get used to it.
Yeah.
He said Dad talked about stacking, but Randy said the state doesn't allow that anymore.
Oh,
He was just gonna do that, cause that's what I didn't realize that ever went over the road, but I think I do remember once, cause that must have almost covered that sugar house up.
yeah, that was the time, was that the same time down St. Roxy, that almost all went
Yeah.
over?
Well, what happened, the culvert got plugged,
Right, trees and stuff.
but
came down.
you look at the top of that road, you can almost see the top of that sugar house, so
Oh, yeah.
I bet that sugar house was.
It must have been.
He
Pain's
said
gonna clean your-
the water was running between the barn and Uncle Robert's house, that's where it went
Oh,
out
wow.
through, going over the road there.
Wow.
So, the 12-year plan, so,
Yeah.
or the 100-year plan, so go from 5 to,
Yeah.
right, the day we were there, it was hardly trickling.
There's no water today.
Huh?
There's no water this year. Can't look at anything and see water.
Oh, they actually got it, not just got exposed.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave's kids?
Dave-
Yeah, Matthew has it.
Matthew got it and Chantal got it,
Oh, she has it now?
yeah.
Oh, COVID?
Yes,
Oh,
he got it at school, I think, and he just, cause he was up, a car went off that double culvert in Red Barn one morning.
And that's where he got it?
Huh?
That's where he got it?
No, the boy got it at school, I assume.
Oh.
But I said Dave was up socially distanced to do some work with Matthew, and he told me he wouldn't be here Monday because he was quarantined, but, yeah, I
I
went
should
over
tell
the
about it
first
from
time.
Matthew.
went over the first culvert, and then the hind end was set, the second culvert has a 45 instead of a straight cut. You know, setting, the hind tires were setting over on the one side of the abutment, and the front end was and I think we thought she was dead. She couldn't get her to come, so he called 911, and then when the fire department came, they rapped a little harder and got her to come to.
What, did she fall asleep or?
I don't know. I think there was other problems.
Oh, these things happen.
She was looking for Fletcher.
Yeah, she was heading downstream from it then, huh?
Yep. Pretty nice SUV, but
Not so much.
Carl said lucky it didn't blow up because when it hit the stone abutment, it folded the gas tank right up. He said if it had sparked or leaked, it would have
Gone right.
Oh, that's bad.
yeah.
I found one thing I want to tell you about an upcoming, well, maybe current and upcoming zoning issue. This guy, Mark Wooten, who lives on New Street in East Fairfield, you know who he is?
Is he the one who's got the car parked halfway out the street all the time?
Yeah. So he's got, you know, there's Wooten, and then right beside him, there's a woman whose name I don't remember, but she has a little daycare. And then his property wraps around behind her.
Wasn't that Hughes, was it?
No, Hughes is across the road.
Hughes is down the first house. And there's a second house is, the people that bought Mrs. Sloan's old house.
Other side of the road,
Oh, across the road.
across
Okay.
the road,
Yeah.
not that side, other side.
That's, he has the land that Peter Andrews thought he owned, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, he came in and wanted a permit to build a garage. We went and had a little site inspection. He's got junk all over the place, unregistered cars. Carl was concerned that he wanted to build a business, a garage business with no state regulation because he would be too small to be under the regulation. The woman who owns the daycare, who's sort of surrounded by him, was very concerned about runoff from the broken down old cars that are there already, from anything new he's making a mess. So we denied his permit at that time because we asked him to clean the property up, and then we'd revisit it, and he didn't. He still has too many unregistered vehicles and like crap running all over. So he's now come back and is asking for it again. Still not in compliance, still has unregistered vehicles, and we're kind of not sure where it's going to go from here. So if he stays small and says it's just a personal use garage and we let him build it and then it grows to something that we have no control over, we're kind of screwed, which is what we expect is going to happen if we allow him to build it. But we may not have any grounds to deny it if he gets in compliance with.
If he cleans up all that's
If he
there.
cleans it up, we don't really have grounds to refuse. If he says he's building a garage for personal use, to put all the crap cars in, we don't really have a way to say, no, you can't do that. And then once we can put stringent rules about
Excessive
use
cars
and excessive cars and all to try and keep it under control. But basically, once it's built, we're kind of,
Powerless,
yeah,
in
basically.
reality.
That is the reality. So we're trying to go in front loading and making sure that we have as much control as possible put in, but the neighbors are all real unhappy about it. And if it's personal use and he follows the rules we ask, we can't really deny.
But doesn't sound like he's really gonna comply, but maybe he will if he really wants. I mean, if he hasn't done it in a year, but
It might be 2, because it was before Melanie.
I was gonna say, I think it's 2 years.
I think it's 2, because it was before Melanie.
Because he put a whole bunch of gravel out there.
Yeah,
put a stone driveway up
Yeah.
through there.
he did, hoping to build back there, and
Yeah.
then there was just a lot of junk, and we told him no, until you're in compliance, and he still isn't in compliance. So Melanie's been sort of going on a back and forth with him to,
So does he does he repair cars and sell them? Is that what he does?
Yes, that's my
That's what I thought.
understanding.
I wasn't sure, but I wondered if that's what
Where
he
does
did.
he live?
He lives right
He
there.
lives in, Fitzgerald's old house,
On the other side, no, on that side.
across from Hughes's.
Yeah.
And of course, when that land gets sold, there's allegedly, there was 6 acres there or something of that nature. And that's when he went up further where that Peter
Yeah, you was,
thought he owned it, and this guy actually owned the driveway, a few feet on the other side and straight back. So, and then I think Peter sold that land of his to that Rebecca Maury, or,
Mhm.
that was in the old
Rebecca
church.
lives at the end.
Yeah,
So just an FYI,
Okay.
we're, do the best we can, but
well, if we haven't got anything else, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
You good?
I'm good,
You
thank you.
good?